Then go to the AC. Off the extension of math. He says the app is going to be goal-based and the only way to do that is do that to like granting rights, but that is what the K is criticizing. The K is criticizing the mindset that we can only grant rights to some sort of like, we can only like presume some sort of due, and we can only based on some sort of ethical theory through some sort of rights. But the K says that there are other methods to alternatives acting. The alternatives acting that we reject some sort of power hierarchies, and we only take upon personal responsibility upon our own actions. That's the way we have to reject some sort of rights-based and framework. Not that we have some sort of like general rules, but rather that we just have to look to the right each individual's responsibility for their own repression. That means that we just reject oppression at its core rather than grant some sort of rights. Moreover, I say that you still can require just can't require sort of like, he says that he falls presuming after sort of that, but I'm saying at the point that he doesn't can't require something as oppressive. That means that even if I'm inviting into the K in some way, that means you're still going to be rejecting the affirmative, because that is justice can't require that kind of oppression, because justice that would be undue for justice. So we don't look to presumption because there's no substantive reason why you can't definitively affirm the affirmative if justice can't require oppression. Then off the evolution argument. This argument fundamentally misunderstands the K. The argument says that like it would be non-unique because like we're not excluding anybody who's like not sentient because we're just talking about like rocks and trees. But my argument is that like we are oppressing these rocks and we are oppressing like these non-sentient beings. My argument is that they always have the we are restricting power hierarchy, which is what constitutes oppression. The oppression of these animals is that we can always reshuffle the rights boundary and it can be excluded next time. That means that this like the right of the group of power to actually re-extend and reshuffle that boundary is not challenged. That means that he has to be proving why he's not going to re-entrench that boundary. That animal's going to get 100% getting rights by the point that there's always power of the group of power to actually re-entrench that right. That's always problematic for him. So then we can go back to the framework justifications. And you can extend that the oppression always is going to be linking into his framework, because at the point that oppression is defined as undue harm and undue pain, and that means that he says that pain is something that we ought to avoid, and oppression is defined as that kind of pain, and that means that you automatically reject the kind of oppression under the AC framework, because that's what motivates us as it constitutes pain. So at that, by the point he's considering the definition of what oppression means, that oppression and definition links into the AC. So that means justice can't require that kind of oppression. Here's how it breaks down. He's re-entrenching rights by saying that we are giving the groups in power the right to determine who are rights holders and who aren't rights holders. By extending rights, he is not challenging the group in power because we're saying that they have the right to determine who are rights holders. So that means that they can always reshuffle the rights boundary. He can't permit all because he can't re-entrench rights and then reject rights at the same time. He needs to be looking to a different way to resolve that kind of rights conflict in order to be able to solve backward coming off the K. So that means that he's linking to the K and he's not challenging that, so you negate.
All right, 40 seconds left. The order is AC. We're going to start with the Mackey argument. This round could not be simply adjudicated because the arguments that she concedes in the last speech are all going to be sufficient to affirm. She concedes 2 on the AC flow itself, so although there's 2 others in the round, I'm only going to go for 2. The first one is the Mackey analysis. Extend Mackey percent any goal-based theory collapse into one based on negative rights because there's an infinite number of choices for rule 7. So it can't be exhaustive in terms of the details. It must include general prohibitions, aka rights, for practical purposes of actually prohibiting conduct. That's something that's explicit within the text of the Mackey. We have to have a rights, if you have a goal-based moral theory, and that leads to a system of rights. Why is she leaking to this criticism? It's non-unique because at the top, she's extending the justifications why oppression matters. Fighting oppression is the end in some sort of goal that she has, which means that she is also having to lead to a system of rights in order to fight that end. She's conceding that argument well, which means she definitely links to the criticism of Mackey. In order to have any sort of goal in the round, and the goal from the K is to prevent oppression by rejecting this rights advocacy. This means that she would have to have a rights advocacy in the first place. Her responses are just not responsive to the argument that I'm making, Mackey. The first one says that this is exactly what she's criticizing, but the argument is that it's non-unique. She criticizes me, she also criticizes herself. Secondly, she says oppression is something that's undue, but it doesn't address the fundamental question, which is that who is entrenching this oppression? The argument of Mackey is that because she also has to defend a system of rights, she's conceded in the last speech. She also advocates a system of rights. I advocate a system of rights. The rights case, the link is non-unique. At this point, because the rights case, the only place that you can negate in this round, it's the only offense because she has no turns on the AC. You have to go to presumption if you even get to the K. So she's also conceded why you would presume F. First, extend that we presume towards something that will have the risk of injustice in the face of something that's just as neutral. The negative is something that would grant rights to animals if they can't recognize or use it. There's no harm to justice. She also thinks that because of the time skew, the app has a harder job doing so. If I've done the better debating, if I've broken even, which means that you should also presume app. She whole concedes the argument. She doesn't even mention the words non-unique, that her advocacy is fundamentally non-unique, at which point, because they're both linking to the K, which is the only place you can even think about negating, you affirm. Now, that's coming second. The first thing you should evaluate is the AC itself. Except Lewis said we have to determine what is good, right? Because it's something we have to know what is good and speaks without achieving the right result, we have to act in that way. What Lewis says is that we have to determine the conception of the good first before we can determine, by determining the conception of the good first, we determine what is included within the sphere of our moral recognition. Her argument is that I can see the definition of oppression and that oppression it precludes. But this exactly feeds my argument, because I do concede that oppression is something that's really, really important in this round. But the argument is that the missing link in the negative case is whether or not animals' oppression should matter at all. If it is true, which she assumes in the negative case, that animals' oppression does matter, then that would mean that they are considered within the sphere of moral recognition, in which the Mackey analysis kicks in, and that would, those obligations that we have to animals would take the form of rights. At this point, I just have to extend off into the NC. It's very easy, AC contention. It's a very easy affirmative that. So, extend the singular analysis, which says the same sign apply pain to other species, so we affirm pain. We extend the weary analysis, which the animals are conscious of experiencing pain. Studies show that verb pay attention when painful sensation, except when distraction comes. This is how the round breaks down. She's conceded the Lewis analysis. The NC implicitly supercharges the reason as to why we have to look to a sense of good first. She is looking to a sense of good first, which means that if she's looking to a sense of good, animals are automatically considered with that. I'm extending offense when links back to the pain analysis to the Nagel, which she's conceding. If you still want the value of K, she's conceding it's non-unique. You presume F either way.